Okay, guys, I got like a very special friend of mine called Niall, who is a personal trainer. Do you want to give a bit of information about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, so I work in Ashburn in Gojim, and that's where I'm based. So what I'm doing now is I know it's personal training. I suppose the times that we're living in now, it's more really getting to the root cause of things. Um, I put up a post yesterday. Honest opinion: do you want to go to the gym to look hot or for mental health reasons? And I'd say about 70% of them come out and said mental health reasons, which says a lot.
Yeah, because currently like off licenses are opening. Well, there's a lot of people who are petitioning that like the gym should be an essential service
Yeah, for sure.
because like the mental health and stuff like that, you know. But pretty much like personal trainers themselves are entrepreneurs, so it's quite hard on them. But I have kind of seen that like a lot of personal trainers have gone online. Have you done any of that stuff yourself? Have you been working on nutrition plans, or maybe potentially working on things through Zoom? Or what do you think about say personal trainers who have like made the switch to kind of online now that we're kind of unsure how things are going to go with the gyms and stuff in Ireland?
Yeah. I think it's very tricky. I tried it in the last lockdown. Um, I suppose the best thing for anyone who's listening is to realize that I'm not this massive personal trainer. I'm not. I don't have my own building. I don't have my own place as such. I'm only starting up, so I suppose this is talking to a lot of people who are entering the industry fresh. Now, I've been in the industry 2 years. Um, but the best thing now is to realize what people connect with and who you, as a person, connect with in terms of being a trainer. We all have different, as they call it, niches. What I mean by niches is who you're naturally good at helping. So, say for example, for me, it can be lads in their 30s up to, let's say, 55, busy parents, busy dads. Other people may connect with people with who are in college, maybe they're in their 20s and they just connect more with them. So, um, transitioning to online is very tricky, um, unless you um, have a massive name where you can easily find work out of it. It's like every other business. It's definitely hard, but finding out what people are struggling with and pinpointing that in your marketing, what people are struggling with, getting that down is really important.
Yeah, it seems like that a lot of personal trainers are having trouble making that adaptation, because this could be the future. But I guess one of the benefits is maybe 6 months to a year ago that a lot of people didn't kind of see the benefit online. They didn't want to pay for online services.
Yeah,
Now it's becoming very common for someone to pay a personal trainer for like the online information, for Zoom classes, for recommendations and nutrition plans and all that sort of stuff and whatever. But I guess kind of seeing you from like 2 years ago to now, it seems like that you implemented a pretty good kind of strategy when it comes to social media. Like you're constantly posting, because I know that you're big into kind of self-development, so you've kind of brought that into a lot of the gym stuff. So not only are they getting taught about like their nutrition and their health, but you're also kind of focusing on a bit of mental health by a lot of the stuff that you post. Do you want to talk a bit about like how like the self-improvement, self-help, the popular psychology stuff that you're into, and how you've brought that into like your personal training and how it has benefited people?
yeah, absolutely. Like, even tomorrow morning, I'm going to be doing a talk on this, self care for everyone else. I think for me, the biggest thing that I love seeing is that inner drive within people. So if I see something that excites them, that, oh yeah, I'm so excited to take on whatever day has for me now. I love seeing that and growing that within people. So um, I started off with seeing that in myself first, what I got excited about, what I was passionate about in terms of how I can help myself. And then when you can see that growth in everyone else, it goes way beyond just lifting barbells. You know, it goes way beyond just doing spin class, pump classes. Um, but what I really like about this era is that it's going to wipe out, because the thing about the Irish fitness industry, it's the worst country to come to get easily qualified. You can nowadays you can get qualified within 2 weeks up to a weekend of a course. You could be someone you could be a gangster and get qualified. It's ridiculous what can qualify you. But this era is what is going to wipe out all of those uh, personal trainers, shall we say. You know, those guys who are not into self-care, who do not see interest in seeing the growth in other people. This is an era where all those guys are going to get wiped out. This is a time where all those personal trainers, if you want to call them, are going to be wiped out. So personal training is really hitting to a side where it's going to be it's kind of hitting life coaching. I think it's definitely, you definitely need to get less specific and get more of a general I suppose sight of a person, what they're going through. So the more you learn about yourself, the more you're going to learn about how other people work and the problems. So you learn things about empathy, you learn things about empowerment, you learn more about I suppose your subconscious, and you can see their subconscious and what's kind of getting there, what's feeding them, you know. So it's huge.
Yeah, kind of looking that deep into things and stuff like that, that there is kind of like a new generation. Because I know there was a problem with like the security industry where some organizations were just giving people certificates, but now, especially now, what's coming online, you know, more than, you know, just giving people, you know, some advice. You know, sometimes it could be a bit of bro science if they're not qualified, but now it's more so I think to kind of give a bit of an example that I've seen kind of recently, some organizations, like a lot of gyms, were doing some market research, and they're like, why is the number one reason that you go to the gym? And the results, to be honest, I wasn't expecting. I thought that a lot of people would have done it, you know, for building muscles, fitness, that, whatever. But I think it was like 90-something% I seen on 3 different polls done by various gyms, that mental health is the number one thing why people do it. It puts structure in their lives. It builds kind of discipline and releases endorphins and all that sort of stuff. But then what you kind of offer your customers, that's kind of what I was talking about, how I kind of seen you grow over the last 2 years. That's like branding, that people aren't like going to like a random person to you know, to get them fit and whatever. It's like they're buying into the brand, they're buying into, you know, Niall and your kind of beliefs, and you're offering like a more comprehensive service where you're also kind of inspiring them and encouraging them and getting them to also, because I feel like, you know, the mind and the body are kind of interconnected. And I guess one thing that I did want to bring in, that kind of the influence that mentors could have on you, because I know that you have like worked with like Irish mentors before when it comes to learning the business side of things before you were getting into personal training, but then also like online mentors, because I know that you know, you were sending me kind of like videos all about kind of self-belief. So do you want to talk about like the importance of mentors, what you've kind of learned?
Yeah, more mentors are essential. Keeping with your mentors, don't have, I would say, loads of them, because then you're going to get probably scattered. Just pick the ones that are right for you, and habits. Okay, so obviously, so in terms of the mentorship is really important. A mastermind group is what everyone needs now. That's what I call it, a mastermind group. No matter how hard times are going to be, you need to rest assured that, okay, I have my community group, I have my mastermind group, which is what I set up there on Thursday. I set up like it's called Self-Empowerment Addicts, which I set up there the other day, and we're going to be talking about different topics in terms of self-care. So when we wake up in the morning, what do? We go and get our cup of tea in the morning. We think, oh, our co-workers, let's whinge and bitch about them, or I didn't get the pay rise. Shite anyway. You know, we're constantly looking at the lack. We're constantly, us Irish people, the victim mindsets that we have, we're constantly looking out for lack. Our bodies are programmed, we have wired our bodies to naturally think about lack of love, lack of abundance. We're waiting for something outside of ourselves to change. It's our birthright to feel empowered. It's our birthright to feel successful. Anyway. Yeah,
people like comfort. I think that's one thing that I did want to kind of chime in there. That, you know, when it comes to digital marketing, you know, I might have the skill set, but now as I'm kind of seeing the importance and kind of the mindset. I could be working for a client. I could have the skill set to get them amazing results, but if I don't have that kind of belief, I'm not going to take the necessary risks, or I might not put the same effort in unless you kind of have that belief in yourself, you know. I think even kind of looking at like Mike Tyson and stuff like that, like he had this kind of borderline, just confidence in him that he thought he was going to win before every fight and stuff like that. I know it's kind of similar with Conor McGregor. He kind of like read The Secret and stuff like that. That kind of like self-belief in any kind of industry like really helps people. But then I noticed that you also mentioned the group that you're in. I guess even with me, not only kind of mentors, that obviously there's a lot of things that I learned from mentors that are irreplaceable in kind of what I do as like a digital marketer. Mindsets, just kind of techniques, just kind of social dynamics, like all that sort of things, like how you deal with people and just kind of like the theory behind like customers and clients. And it's getting to a point that influencers and people who rule the internet, like when it comes to say like a personal trainer, that you're more likely to go with someone your friend recommends than like a major company or like or from like an advertisement. It's all kind of word of mouth. But even with me, besides the mentors, what you said, you have that kind of group there. That I would have something similar, but it wouldn't be actually like a physical group. I always kind of have a network of people who are in the same industry as you. So I always kind of have like digital marketers around me of all different skill sets, because you never know what you can learn from someone, that you could find mentors and your peers. Have you learned anything from any other personal trainers or any guys that you work with?
Well, what I would say is you have a great point there about self-belief. I would say the sweet spot, okay, of learning, you can have all the theory in the world, you can have all the technical side in the world, but there's a place where, even though it's great having the mindset and the belief about yourself, but then you have to look at their side.
You have to have the skill set as well.
The skill set, yeah, the skill set.
A lot of bullshitters.
You can have your 7-year college degree. I don't care what you have, you have a PhD, but then you have the other person about how they think, what they need, what their priorities are, and you kind of mesh it in the middle, your self-belief, their needs, and instead of saying, oh, well, I have a PhD, I can talk to you about branched chain amino acids. I hate the word personal trainer. I absolutely hate it. Reason being, it's the most off-putting word.
What term would you prefer?
I like coach.
Coach sounds much better.
Coach is the best. Personal trainer is so last decade, and reason being, it's lift a few bars, lift a few weights. That's a personal trainer. It
sounds very informal as well, because we were kind of talking there a minute ago how like everything is kind of like through like word of mouth and stuff like that. Everything's becoming more personal. Being like a coach, kind of reminds me of the Mighty Ducks or something like that. It just seems like that's my coach. Someone who kind of believes in me, and I guess that kind of wording, I think definitely kind of fits in with your brand and kind of your beliefs.
Exactly. You have to empathy. If you can have, I think it's a sin for every business. It's empathy, getting an understanding of where your client is at, getting of what they feel, what they think, knowing where they are, showing empathy towards that, and then being sure in your abilities, because you know more than them. Being you as a trainer, you're going to know more about fitness. You're going to know more about health. They know about what they need to know, but they come to you because this guy knows what he's talking about. So if you can bring your knowledge of what you have about the field, messing with the empathy and understanding of where this person is coming from, what this person is thinking, what this person is feeling, and if you can develop that kind of skill, that's a real coach.
That's kind of like a real balance there, because I know what you're kind of saying is that the education is not enough, because I've known people who have master's degrees, like PhDs in various different sectors. I've even like one of my best friends who like did 2 or 3 years in personal training, and he knows nothing. He just blanked out those 2-3 years. So it's a mixture of like getting the actual skill set to meet up with the education, but then as you said, you also have to kind of know your client, which is also like an old school marketing kind of technique. You have to know the persona, like who is your client, do you fit their needs? I think there's like, when I was a kid, someone said to me like, one pair of pants doesn't fit anyone. You have to kind of know that like some clients are for you, some aren't, and then be able to kind of promote yourself to those sort of clients that that you could fit your needs. So I'm assuming that a lot of the clients that you would go for would be maybe the ones who are need that kind of boost in kind of self-care and stuff like that, and they're maybe scared to go to the gym and they need that bit of motivation and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I think within a very high college degree, which is always great to have, there's also a very high ego attached to it, and everything that it kind of blocks off the empathy. And I think that's the problem with a lot of really smart guys. You might find that someone's really technical. The branched chain amino acids, the creatine phosphate. Those guys, I know all those guys, and those guys have no empathy. It's just solely ego and what I have and what I can do. But the other person just can't, the customer, the prospect, they just can't feel it. They just can't think, right, he's going to solve my needs. He's going to fix my priority. This is my priority, but he can't see it. I don't feel good about this. So, and that applies to every business, you know?
Yeah, because I guess when it comes to the kind of the college stuff, sometimes when it comes to someone who comes across really sophisticated and educated, that sometimes that if the actual consumer or the client doesn't know any better, sometimes they can be convinced that working with like a bad client who's not getting them results and stuff like that. Because as you said, if you know they go into like the detail of amino acids and stuff like that, and like you know BCAAs, creatine, protein, and this, that, and whatever, that they necessarily, because a lot of the time maybe that they're not kind of versed in that sort of stuff, so you will have like, you know, people who do not meet the needs of the client, and pretty much what you're kind of talking about there. But kind of, yeah, back to other personal trainers and that kind of network. I know that you've been like working a guy doing boxing and stuff like that. Like how have like you what has your experience been like with networking with these other personal trainers, especially in like areas that you're kind of only kind of getting new into, you know, kind of dipping your feet in? Because I know like boxing is really good for mental health as well as like an exercise. So how has it been working with that guy in particular?
Sure. Lawrence Miles is his name, and he actually does a lot of coaching. He's doing coaching before. He's a great guy. The Rambling Man is the name of his YouTube site. He's trying to get that off the ground as well. But what I like about him is it's a classic thing of a push versus giving you a bit of praise, a bit of tap in the back. You know, you've done well there, but he's also strict. You know, and that's something I want him to do in my coaching. That kind of thing. Oh, you need to be doing this now. Come on, we're not going to be no laughs, no tears here today, no messing. But at the end of the session, he points out the positives of a person, or of what I did, not of a person, but of my performance. Okay, how I catch things on. With Lawrence, what I like about him in particular is if I'm doing shit, he will say you're doing really bad. You know, do you know what I mean?
The honesty.
If I walked into his gym in years to come when he has him, and like, oh man, I'm hungover. He'd be like, well, what are you doing? You know what I mean? There'd be no, oh, we all have those days. I'd be like, what are you doing? Well,
so you feel like the honesty, like he, as you said, that like he kind of fits your needs, because sometimes some people kind of can't take that criticism, but sometimes people strive with that criticism. You know, like you need to do better. Like you shouldn't be drinking. That you really care about this particular goal. You really want to improve in boxing. You're not going to do it this way. And some people can't kind of handle the truth. So like, any additional things that you may have like learned from his kind of coaching style or from his training, or?
Well, precision nutrition, for one thing, they teach a 10% kind of principle. So instead of giving a client 100% of things to do, if you can take up 2 things out of that to-do list and apply it to a busy, because that person's schedule is very busy.
Yeah.
So instead of having, okay, here's 20 things I want you to do, a personal trainer, a majority will do that. Right, you need to do this. You need to track your proteins, your carbs, and your fats exactly to the gram. Now, a person who works, who has like 2 or 3 kids and has a mortgage to pay and is working 12 hours a day, he's not going to get that kind of time. He just wants to feel better in his body, and he wants to look better. And
make it easy, or else he's not going to do it.
Yeah.
He has to enjoy it.
Realistic approaches. So it's all about what the person, and they talk about this precision nutrition, is what the person is able, willing, and capable to do. All right. So Lawrence is obviously looking at what I am willing to do, what I'm able to do, what I'm capable to do. You know, so that's what's great about it. He can see what that is. Most PTs will just look at someone. Okay, I'm going to assume. Underline that word. I'm going to assume what you're able, capable, and are going to do, without having an empathy and understanding of a person's lifestyle.
Yeah,
it's all this crack of, well, how much do you want it? How much do you want it? That's one thing, and I know a lot of personal trainers who do that, and they're great personal trainers. But the times that we live in, the busier and harder things are, you kind of have to have, again, that sweet spot where you're kind of seeing, right, well, what can we do for this person, you know?
I guess there's also calibration, kind of going back to like some of business backgrounds, that, you know, as a personal trainer, that, you know, you could be the more coach style with one person and be more strict with another person. It really depends on their personality type and what they need, you know? Like, what do you think about that? Do you like treat like certain clients different based on
No, well,
in your
that's just, it's really important that no matter what, say for example, you're talking to, we'll say Claire, who's in her mid 50s, and well, how was your weekend? How's things? Oh, blah blah blah. And then you talk to another guy in his 20s who's rough. Ah man, what's the crack with you? La la la. People can smell that bullshit from a mile away. This guy's fake. He's just
yeah
trying to. He's what's the word you have for that? It's where you're trying to match with different personalities. Do you have a word for that? I
mixed
can't remember.
multiple personality disorder or something. But
Oh no,
I don't mean like treating people different. I mean like the
you're talking differently.
yeah, no, like the coaching style or the training would be different. So say as you have someone who like, you know, wants to be like competitive bodybuilder, that, you know, they want to be a boxer. So like your friend, you know, like that kind of style, you know, where you can tell them that they're not doing great, or, you know, you need to put more effort in. But then you'll have that person who does have the family and has kids with them, you know, telling them, oh, you didn't show up today because their investment isn't in it that much, so you want to come at a more kind of fun approach, or more of like an easy approach where it isn't strict, because their goals is not to be that competitive. It's just to shed a few pounds. Maybe it's just mental health reasons. So like, would your training and your approach to people and their backgrounds be different, or which way would you kind of come at it?
It's always kind of similar. Do you know what I mean? So my mindset and the way I approach things is, even though it always needs my coaching always obviously going to improve as the years go on. But what I find is giving people that kind of leeway in terms of how busy they are. I probably do need to push them a little bit harder, but I'm probably getting too much on their side. But I would never like go from get into a lady who's probably in her mid 50s, trim down a few pounds, and then go on to a bodybuilder. Do you know what I mean? Is that what you're asking as well? I never do that. No, my is mainly like, I represent probably just fat loss a lot more because I've been there.
Yeah, I know.
More with that.
Yeah, I think what you're doing is perfect, because as you were saying, is that you go for like that particular client, and you kind of like suit their needs, so you can just kind of stick with that kind of that one style, and that's kind of like your branding and stuff like that, and that's probably what you find more fun. But one thing I really like about you is, I think that I'm quite similar, that the kind of value of education and constantly to upskill yourself. I know in kind of personal development you're always trying to push that, always trying to improve, but then I know that you've like done multiple courses in personal training, still are doing multiple courses when it comes to the actual like, you know, area of PT, but then also the business side of it. Because I remember one day you said to me that you were talking to someone and they were saying that you know, as a business it's better to kind of run group classes than it is to do like one-to-one personal training. So I guess maybe we're going to finish this up soon. So one of the last questions I'm going to ask you is about like the importance of education, and maybe if you have some tips that helped you that you learned over the 2 years when it comes to the business of personal training or coaching. I'm going to call it coaching because that's your preferred word.
Always keep upgrading. Always keep studying. It's going to, again, get that belief in your going. The fact that you're constantly upscaling and upgrading your business, or you're upgrading your knowledge, always investing in yourself is always going to be such a priority, you know.
And then the client is getting like more value, because the more you're upskilling, the more you're learning, the more you're implementing into their training. So has that worked for you? That because I know that you were doing like outdoor boot camps for a while. Like how was that for you? Like the outdoor boot camps and stuff.
Oh, that was fun. I do think, you know, Ireland, in terms of outdoor boot camps, it's really going to start kicking off again when the evenings start getting brighter next year, you know.
And it's easier to kind of isolate and stuff like that when we get to kind of lower levels of COVID and stuff.
Yeah. Even if you're not in the fitness industry, or even if you're not ready to, even if you're not into fitness whatsoever, even if you're not, I say now is the best time more than ever to kind of get familiar with how you work. What's your own body's program? When you wake up in the morning, do you just go by your routine, grab your coffee, think about your ex, think about your coworker that you hate, think about the problems, all right? If you're more geared to that, and it's going to be hard, people say think positive, but the reason that doesn't work, the whole think positive is not going to work, is because you're giving your body a program. Your body is following a program to follow. You wire your body, your chemicals are craving for those emotions, to look for something to whinge and bitch about, and that's a very big Irish thing.
So you need to kind of retrain the mind and create new habits, or?
Yeah, so when you wake up in the morning, things like implementing like meditation, things like following, okay, let's reprogram my whole thought process. Let's reprogram my body, because we're not reprogramming the mind here. We're reprogramming the body. We need to understand, okay, what triggers me, what causes a stir in my stomach. You really need to get into tune and ask yourself, get deep for the next 6 weeks. Ask yourself, okay, why do I think this automatically? Why is my body craving it automatically? And fix that before you get into any fitness program. Before you go back into business for yourself, you need to kind of rewire yourself. Now, I've become a bit of a faster learner. I've attracted much more opportunities by just doing this. So that's one thing I would say to anyone. Even when you are training, I train out of a source of inspiration, as opposed to let's look at something to escape from. Oh, I hate living at home. I hate living so I can't stand this, so I need that as my escape time, as opposed to my hour of power.
Yeah.
So reframing everything like that, thinking like this the whole time, your body's going to make you sick. Your protein, you wake up in the morning, okay, let's look for something to complain about. Let's get my routine and let's bitch about such and such. That's going to make you sick. You're going to become physically sick. And during this pandemic, after years of that, this is why your immune system, this is why when you get a flu, you're probably sick for 3 or 4 weeks.
It's crazy. Because I know me and you were like born like a year apart from each other, so we kind of grew up in kind of the same generation in Ireland. But it's crazy that only in the last 5 years that like people are talking about like self-care, mental health and stuff like that. Like growing up in Ireland, that just wasn't talked about at all, or any of that like empowerment or self-help thing. And then like now looking at it, it's like one of the most important things, because if you let go of like your mental health, you can lose everything. Like,
yeah, this quarantine has done wonders for me. Just in terms of getting to know myself, what I get emotionally attached to, and why. Why do I think so? Whether it be positive or negative, what causes triggers for me? What causes that kind of anxiety? And you really need to reprogram. So stop waiting for things to get better. Stop waiting for something outside of yourself to feel a certain good emotion. You should start rewiring your body to have a good emotion. And the reason, when you start building that in other people, okay, so instead of just how do I build myself up, start seeing that in other people. How can I bring out the best in that person?
Yeah,
that's what this next 6 weeks should be about. We actually needed a break from the old lifestyle of walking through. It's actually, what I like about, I know we'll probably wrap up on this up, but say for example the shopping centre, it's illegal to walk over people or to push out everyone another way. It's always space, me first, me in the door. You have to respect everyone's privacy.
We were very selfish.
You have to open the door now and say after you, like the good old way, as the days that should be.
Because I was actually like, I'm a big fan of the Blind Boy podcast, and he was kind of talking about in like Asian cultures for 20 or 30 years that they've been kind of using masks, and it's not because of any sort of kind of pandemic or anything like that. When they actually get sick, that they've the common courtesy to wear a mask so other people don't get sick. But I used to get sick multiple times during the winter, just kind of taking public transport and stuff like that. I never knew why. It's because people are disrespectful. When someone gets sick, they just kind of cough all over each other. They don't care on the bus. But now people are more like, they're understanding, besides the kind of gym, the actual the physical health of like isolation and fluids being passed around, and being more considerate, wearing a mask when you're sick. So hopefully when this ends, that like when people do get sick, they'll put more consideration to like sanitizing their hands and wearing masks when they're sick. But then I guess for some people, they're gonna deal with a lot of bad mental health because the isolation isn't great. But then the one benefit of it is that a lot of people might strive in this, as you said, that you're kind of like learning more about yourself and stuff like that, to improve on like the personal development stuff. But so far this podcast has been pretty awesome for a first one. So I didn't know where I'm going to go with this, but I think for future ones I'm probably going to definitely bring more personal development stuff, business and digital marketing. So to end it, I'm going to ask you 2 questions that you can answer for anyone who's watching. Do you want to name like some influences of yours, and then finally, where can people find you?
I suppose Lawrence Miles, as I mentioned earlier on, you can find him too. Joe Dispenza. If there's anyone mains this stream, it will be Joe Dispenza.
Yeah.
That he is the real. Are you familiar with Joe Dispenza?
Yeah, you said them to me.
yeah. But Joe Dispenza is the real guy to go to, I think, for everybody. You can find me on Nightlife 1993. It's my Instagram. All right. I'm a small dude. You know, I'm not. But well, there's no such thing as a small timer.
Well, you're not. Well, you're natural.
And that's I'm only building and growing everything. My goal is when I'm 30. I'm 27 now. When I'm 30, we can be on a massive. You can be in your old studio, and maybe I might have my own place then. You know, I think it's inevitable, really.
Yeah, but I think it was kind of good to talk to you to get a perspective from someone who is still kind of building their brand and still on their way and still kind of like building themselves, personal development wise, business wise, and also kind of like marketing wise. I think that this could be interesting for a lot of people, and they might relate, and hopefully that we create a few conversations with this. But my name has been Nate from Brand Digital, and thank you guys very much, and hopefully you enjoy this